Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with a community showdown. It's going to be Bretonnia and Dogperson facing off against the Empire and Nerexa. And certainly very excited. We have two Royal Hippogryph Knights. Looks like Demogryph Knights on the other side. A lot of the monsters cav going to be going fisticuffs. Now, as far as the Bretonnian build goes, it is going to be peasant mobs. And obviously, if you're going to be spending 4,000 gold on Hippogryph Knights, the rest of your army quality is going to be questionable. However, we do have Grail Reliques, which is going to be making the leadership of these men-at-arms pretty decent. Certainly up to the caliber of standing up to Empire State Troopers at the very least. But as far as the applications of Hippogryph Knights in the Empire matchup, now let's think about this. I think a little bit of a dangerous pick if you're playing against very meta Empire, like if your Empire opponent comes in with 2 or 3 war wagons, they're really going to get a ton of value off these Hippogryph Knights. And on top of that, there's silver bullets. Artillery, of course, could be a bit of a threat against them. But again, it's mainly going to be wagons, silver bullets, Sterling's Revenge, those type of units. But if none of those units are on the field, I mean, certainly they can dominate Empire heavy cavalry. They cause terror. They can run over state troopers and can be very, very disruptive. Now, for the Bretonnian forces, it's going to be peasant mobs, men-at-arms, backed up by spear men-at-arms. Fey Enchantress going to be leading the army, giving a Mortis Engine, and of course bringing Earthblood and the Dwellers Below, which is a good spell if your opponent is going to be bringing a Sunmaker. Fey Enchantress can kind of slip into the back line and try and shut it down. Now, for the Imperial army here, it is going to be Karl Franz. Love to see myself some Demogryph Knights, and Demogryph Knights would probably do okay against Hippogryphs if they can get like a square fight on them. The problem is the Hippogryphs are always going to get the charge on them because they're flying, so the Demis will miss that charge bonus of 50. However, the Halberds might be enough to give them an edge, especially if the Empire has a little bit of healing there. So in the front line, it's going to be Empire captains, and mostly just man-side. No wagons whatsoever. We have a Jade Wizard in the bushes here with Awakening in the Wood, that's what she said, as well as the Earthblood. So that would appear to be it. I wonder if we're going to be seeing another Demogryph Knight. As far as Franz goes, I think he's a good choice. I think Franz is a very good assassin. If you bring Gal Maraz, he can certainly snipe the Bretonnian Paladins and characters. Against Royal Hippos, he'll do well, but he'll need healing. Those guys have 135 weapon strength. So basically 3 or 4 of these Hippogryph, I think it would be like 4 of these Hippogryph models will be doing the same amount of damage as Franz would be doing. So you really got to be careful. But Gal Maraz will give him that bonus first large and the stats he really needs to kind of go fisticuffs with those guys. And now we're starting to see war wagons coming out. So I was going to say that would be a very, very off-meta Empire build if you didn't have war wagons. And they're just so good against Bretonnia. They counter pretty much Questing Knights, Knights of the Realm, Hippogryphs. They counter more or less the entire Bretonnian roster. I mean, obviously not the infantry, but all the big threats and things like that. They're just so excellent against. And Hippos here honestly have a free charge if they want to. They're going to be going into some of the state troopers. Here they come, descending from the trees, and that is going to be some big damage for sure, as Hans and the boys are going to be fleeing, and spears are going to be called from the back ranks as the initial state troopers are going to have to retreat. The Enchantress moving in, trying to get a Mortis Engine effect, but wisely retreats out of there pretty quickly. That would have been very dangerous to stay while the Prince and Emperor was nearby. Not just the Prince and Emperor. Got to put some respect on that name. So war wagons are kind of chilling here, shooting on the outside. War wagons should definitely come up and under and support against the Royal Hippogryph Knights. And the State Troopers here, considering Bretonnia is just leaving 1 unit, although it is the Holy Wardens. Okay, that makes sense why he's staying back here. Holy Wardens would be able to solo like 3 or 4 State Troopers by themselves pretty well. So frontline fighting is underway, but Bretonnia does have the Grail Relique, so their leadership's going to be pretty damn solid here, as the Chalice of Potions is going to be activated. Karl Franz descending from the skies with all of his buffs pop, going to be trying to assassinate the Fey Enchantress here, and Chalice of Potions appears to have been dodged. Franz unfortunately does not get any square attacks on the Fey Enchantress, and he is going to be countercharged by the Hippogryph Knights. The Demis in the high ground certainly need to engage and help him, but it looks like they will be pulled back, as Franz actually gets a couple nice shots on the Hippogryph Knights, forcing those guys to retreat. So a little bit of a wild engagement there in the front line as more wagons are circling in, but the wagons are horribly out of position. They're using their ammunition to shoot against peasant mobs. Certainly need to be kind of like back up, like right on the tree line right here, and shooting at the big boys up in the sky. And I think he realizes that and is going to be pulling the war wagons around the side and trying to kind of get around the sides of the Bretonnian army, or he could go shoot the Holy Wardens, who are not shielded and wear down a fairly expensive unit. So now Fran's going to be taking the fight, and wow, he takes a ton of damage from those Hippogryph Knights on the charge. And the front line State Troopers obviously are going to dominate the peasants initially, and now they're going to be pushing into the secondary line. The more disciplined troopers of the Empire usually have a little bit of an edge in the front line, but not so much when the big knights come in. And a huge Hippogryph Knight charge hammers into those poor State Troopers, and they're probably going to get terror routed here rather quickly. As on the other side, we do see Hippos diving in, but they are intercepted once again by the Demogryph Knights, and this time the Demis actually get a good charge. So I would wager that the Hippos are probably going to want to run, especially with Karl Franz there lending his big Warhammer. Not going to be a good time, and a couple of them do get trapped up on the ground as the Man-Tides basically just clash in the middle. So reinforcements coming in. We do have the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis as well as Knights Errant coming in to reinforce. Overall, Franz is doing pretty good. He's able to get some solid damage on the Hippogryph Knights, not killing any models, but the Fey Enchantress is also turning the tide of the infantry fight, and it looks like Bretonnia will probably, take over this objective. But on the other side, looks like the War Wagons were used in tandem with some grenade launchers, and they are slowly taking down, a 700-800 gold unit here. And the Holy Wardens, which are going to be crumped, mounted Yeomen on the way in, and Yeomen are a good diving unit against the Empire, because sending in Knights of the Realm after Wagons is not going to be great because you're losing a lot of value. But if you're just getting your Knights or mounted Yeomen popped by the Wagons, it's much more cost effective than losing like elite cavalry. Granted, the Empire State Troopers can 100% just move up now, so I would wager that Nerexa here will move up to Objective 1 with his Empire Tide. That would be the correct play right now. On the other side, we see the Demogryph Knights in a very pitched fight versus Knights Errant as well as Royal Hippos. So Demis are a pretty good anti-large cav. I mean, if they can get the fight, they certainly perform, but they are heavily outmatched here. There's just tons of Bretonnia chaff nearby. The Empire is very, very just outnumbered as well. France descending, the Prince and Emperor are going to be going for a bit of a snipe on the Fey Enchantress, and he gets a nice hit that time. And if France can take out the Fey Enchantress, that basically, will seal the deal. I mean, Fey Enchantress is really, really an anchor piece for the forces of Bretonnia. She's the one answer you have against like mass swaths of infantry. I mean, of course, your cav can do it as well, but it's pretty rare that you see a Bretonnian player lose Fey Enchantress early and come back. Granted here, I mean, man, she's getting straight up karate chopped by the Prince and Emperor, and it looks like she's going to get away. The rout saves her, and she does run through the infantry there. And France is going to be trapped up in these men-at-arms. Now, sitting on the point, we have State Troopers battling against Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis and Empire Captain. A lot of grenade launchers as well as Pistoliers coming out. Ooh, and the Royal Altdorf Gryphites being called out from the deeps as well. A great choice. Granted, Grail Reliques do give immune to psychology, so it's going to be mitigating the terror of the Empire a little bit. Demis rush in, immediately crush these mounted Yeomen. I really, really like the Royal Altdorf Gryphites. They're so cool. I do have a unit in my tabletop army that's kind of like painted similar. Although the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, they have a bit of a different look. Yeah, the Demogryphs themselves are like painted this this very like light bluish hue, which I actually didn't notice before, but very neat. So, overall look at the battlefield. Looking at the points, Bretonnia is up 408 to 220. The Empire up pretty considerably on value, however. And Franz up in the sky in a little bit of a precarious situation. He is battling against these Hippo Knights, and he might be able to get through it, but Franz is going to need some healing, as Jade Wizard has been hiding in the trees for most of the battle and just kind of casting Earthbloods from the shadows. But Franz probably going to want to run right here, as the Fey Enchantress healing these things up might be able to kind of turn the tide of the battle, but this is the movie hero moment right here. But Franz definitely needs some support. He's very, very heavily outmatched over there with the healing on the Hippogryph Knights and a second unit about to come in as well. Sitting on the back objective, looks like the Empire is controlling this one, and now the Empire forces concaving in on objective 2. So the wagons, the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, and the spears all doing pretty good. I think the main thing for the Empire right now should be not losing Franz. Trying to get him away, not taking that big leadership route, because the Empire is in a commanding position, it looks like, overall. They do have their spearmen, they have their grenade launchers, the wagons, and you see a lot of the Bretonnian forces are getting very, very beat up here. Oh man, Franz better be careful not to rout off the edge of the map. That would be absolutely brutal. So the Wizard does come out. Looks like he got an Earthblood on Franz when I wasn't looking. Sitting here on this objective, we do have some basic State Troopers and the Empire Captain continuing to fight. And now the grenade launchers are coming in from the sides, while the War Wagons are just shooting at the heavy cavalry, which are trying to catch them. And Royal Altdorf Gryphites, man, just being a sweeper. Wherever they go, there's hammering down these elite cav units. And will the Prince and Emperor escape? The Hippogryph Knights hard on the hunt, and looks like there's 8 models left here. Franz did bring the other unit down to 5, which is quite good. Bretonnia holding firm here. The Grail Reliques giving them some very, very, solid leadership, which is something they normally lack. We have another Grail Relique over here, which appears to be buffing up the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. And mounted Yeomen get on top of grenade launchers. A really, really nice play there by Dog Person, as he does jump on top of the grenades and is able to punish him a little bit. I love the Hippogryph Knight play. Oh, nice charge here as well from Bretonnia. Going to be crushing these grenade launchers, which is going to be a big sigh of relief for all the Bretonnian infantry out there, as those grenades are routed. We got more Demogryph Knights with halberds coming in, and I believe the Royal Altdorf Gryphites are still online somewhere. Yes, they are. They're basically just hunting down cav, and they do catch some Knights Errant over here, which is going to be an extremely one-sided fight. I can't wait for the old world to come back simply to just play with my Demogryph Knights in tabletop. They're hands down one of my favorite models. And the tabletop models for Demogryph Knights are really good. They have tons of customization options, like this unique iconography on them. They look really, really cool. But Knights Errant getting taken out in a matter of seconds. Chalice of Potion cast here from Dog Person. Gonna do some damage or no to Dweller's Blow, which is gonna be hitting some swords, not the worst thing in the world. And we do see Demis versus the healthy version, or the healthier one, of the Hippogryph Knights, if I'm not mistaken. And the Demis seem to be doing very, very well in sustained combat. They have that anti-large. I mean, they're a designated anti-large unit, whereas the Hippogryph Knights are more of a generalist, and they can certainly do well because they get the jump. But Franz coming in with the steel chair as well is going to be getting, I believe, a rout on those Hippogryph Knights. And once again, Franz is up in the sky. The Prince and Emperor just trying to carry this game to the best of his abilities. He's got the mighty Warhammer, and it looks like he is slowly taking down these flying units of Bretonnia. We got how many models left? It looks like 3. Fran's very, very low. He's got 800 HP, so he's certainly taking a beating himself, but at the end of the day, it looks like he is going to be winning the fight, and if he can get some Earthbloods, he can certainly help to take over this game. But Dog Person has been able to hold on to the objectives for quite some time. Spearmen at Arms here, battling Demogryph Knights, super cost effective for the forces of Bretonnia to have 120 Haggard Spear units, occupying a very expensive elite anti-large unit. Empire certainly needs to get its grenade launchers back online. We got grenade launchers in the backfield. They need to move up and start nuking this position. We got State Troopers heading to the back objective of Men at Arms here, although it looks like some of them are going to be coming here. The Empire, I think, would still win on 2 objectives at this point, but it is going to get to the point where they could lose on just 1 if they're not careful here. And a huge Bretonian cav charge on the side, double Yalemen, and they're going to be going for it. Looks like the Griffites got a little bit busy chasing something off, and a little bit of a lapse in micro here, as the Griffites are going to be ambushed by the Bretonian cavalry. And even taking the charge, though, the Yalemen actually kind of obstructed the charge for the other Bretonians, so you can see they barely took any damage. And this 1 unit of Griffites, even getting charged by these 3 cav units, is going to 3v1 this, like, easily. So that's actually very, very cost-effective for the Empire. And now we get some Imperial Knights coming in to try and sandwich them, and that is going to be turbo cost-effective for the forces of Sigmar. Now, back objective owned by the Empire, but Bretonnia looks like they're going for a little bit of a Grand Theft Auto here as their Spearmen at Arms moving up. Could we see Dog Person maybe get this game back, despite being a little bit behind on value with the shenanigans and playing the objectives extremely well? Certainly could be the case. Bretonnian leadership holding up here. We do see Grail Reliques kind of keeping this bad boy in check as more of the Bretonnian peasant troopers are on the way up. Fran's going to be getting another Earthblood. Wagons in the backfield trying to shoot at the birds, but it looks like the birds once again do find the grenade launchers, and I really like that Dog Person is going after the grenade launchers. That's a huge play, right? Because like with a lot of Demogryph Knights being on the field, they're not good at clearing out infantry, so that really leaves it in the hands of grenade launchers and or Imperial State Troopers. But it seems like the Empire player has mostly spears and halberds, which are not going to be super effective at clearing off some of these infantry-based threats. Fran's up in the sky. Looks like he's hunting the Fey Enchantress a little bit. Back objective is still owned by the Empire, and we do see the Royal Altar of Griffites with an extremely clean fight here. They are able to win that one. More Empire Knights are on the way up, and I would imagine the Royal Altar of Griffites will be back online here in a second. It's definitely a huge misplay to leave them idle back here. He could have the Royal Altar of Griffites like back around here, hammering this position, or pushing up on the opponent's back position. Royal Altar of Griffites have good enough stats, and now they're active again, that they can deal with infantry too. They're pretty beast mode. Looks like Fran's going to be going after the Grail Relique, and the dreaded 300 gold Grail Relique. Probably going to be taken out here, which is going to lead to a bit of a leadership route, and now you see the objective flipping here. And this is really close. I think that the Empire would just barely win on 2 objectives, assuming they can hold that for the rest of the game. So now it's a 2-to-1 cap. We see the Bretonnian forces finally being routed off by the Mantide here, and on the other side of the battlefield, we do see State Troopers battling against Men at Arms, looking pretty comfortable here as the Empire Knights do move in, but they are battling Polearm Boys, so we do have some Polearms backed up by Fey Enchantress. Fey Enchantress does lower melee attack of nearby units by -5, so she's going to be making the Imperial Cavalry quite a bit weaker here, but the Griffites have arrived, which could turn the tide of the battle and maybe get some terror routes here on the Men at Arms, who are of course not immune to psychology. But Bretonnia once again getting a little bit spicy here in the backfield as the Mounted Yeomen and the Holy Wardens are moving up to steal this objective, man. Really sneaky objective play, which I love. And Holy Wardens do have full capture weight. And Bretonnian infantry obviously have pretty god-awful capture weight in general. Looks like the Empire has a huge Mantide here with some wagons, so that's not really going to be a concern. Setting on the other objective, though, losing this one would be extremely disastrous. And you can see there is going to be a response coming in from Rexa. He does get the Royal Altar of Griffites on the way in with some halberds. Halberds will have full capture weight here and will be able to kind of slow down the roll here of the Bretonnians. Although Holy Wardens are going to smash some halberds. Granted, halberds have 42 melee defense. It's not going to last too long as we get more State Troopers on the way up. And you'll notice how he's moving his Men-at-Arms up here to try and like block them from getting the capture weight on the objective. So Royal Altar of Griffites going for a pick on the Fey Enchantress. Certainly more of like a back-breaking play instead of like trying to control the objectives. They could have pulled back here and probably gotten some terror routes, maybe secured this back objective, but instead they're going to be going for the gooning on the Fey Enchantress, which is more like a strategy in line with trying to get it like a triple cap at some point during this game, just brute forcing down the Bretonnian army. So Wagons on the way in, and the objective does flip, which might actually give the forces of Bretonnia enough to win on just one objective. It's going to be very tight. We do have Men-at-Arms moving up as well as Spearmen, and some more halberds fighting quite valiantly here. And on the other side, we see Objective 2 being controlled by the Mantide, so there's no way Bretonnia's going to get this one back. And it looks like the Empire are going to be going for a cheeky grab here on Objective 1, moving in with the War Wagons, Empire Knights, some Swordsmen, and the Fey Enchantress is barely able to get away, pulling in some halberds to screen out the Royal Altar of Griffites. These guys are going to want to pull back to Objective number 1. And man, oh man, this game is getting very tense as the Royal Outdoor Gryphites do pull back. A lot of poking sticks on both sides, that's for sure. Empire moving in with halberds, but the Holy Warden's probably going to be able to kind of control this objective. And honestly, it looks like Dog Person might be able to pull this one out. Despite being behind on a lot of value, the Empire's making some mistakes. You know, they have a lot of units idle here, which should have been moving to objectives. As soon as he controlled this, you know, he got a little bit lazy with these 2 units. They could have gone over to this back objective and gone for that, but you know, it's an easy thing to forget when you're microing all these cav units and wagons and trying to pick off high value assets. It gets very, very sweaty for sure. But this is going to be a triple cap situation for the Empire, 100%. Looking at Objective 1, it is owned by Bretonnia, but it's currently being flipped into the hands of the Empire. But I think Bretonnia will be able to kind of stabilize this once their pole arms get here and their men at arms. So that objective will stay in the hands of Bretonnia for now. Gryphites trying to grab it, and this is really strong. And you just kind of hunker down here at this point, right? Because, yeah, Fey Enchantress, yeah, she can go over here and kind of occupy Franz's attention. That's probably what you would want to do. Just play Benny Hill and ride around on the Unicorn and make Franz chase you instead of, like, being effective in combat here. But it looks like Dog Person is going to be able to hold on to this objective. The back objective, most likely going to be retaken by the Imperial Troopers. They just have a numbers game back here. It's very close to their spawn. A lot of State Troopers are on the way in, and that will probably flip. This objective belongs to the Empire. A couple of these State Troopers should 100% be grabbed and sent to this objective because they really, really need to get here, or else they're just going to lose on 1 point. So Franz trying to get the terror routes. Looks like he's going after the Fey Enchantress, and good baiting here by Dog Person. He's kind of like trying to lure Franz away, so there can't be any big leadership routes. Here we do see State Troopers moving up. Beautiful Knights Errant charge into the back of Swordsmen. That's going to be turbo cost effective as the Imperial Knights move in. The Jade Wizard, if he's got Winds of Magic left, might be able to get a big Dwellers, which could certainly turn the tide of the game. Franz trying to get the Fey Enchantress, but she is very, very slippery on the Unicorn. It's going to be very tough to catch her. Despite the wounds profile, you can see with the wounds, she's only got 86 speed, but Franz is also wounded, so his speed is going to be down to 81. And now the Empire is going to be having to go for a last Sigmarite charge here on the back objective. And we do have a huge Bretonnian tide coming in. The filthy peasant tide is upon us. I really like this color scheme as well. This is, I forget it. I think it's Paragon. Yeah, it's like black and yellow with like some brown hues and whatnot. I think it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's so hard to decide when the old world comes back. You guys saw the new Bretonnian models they were teasing for the old world. Man, it's like, God, there's so many armies I'm going to want to start. It's going to be brutal. The wallet's going to hurt for sure. Franz hunting down Fey, but the Fey is very elusive, like I said. On the back objective, Empire has that under control. We have a lot of State Troopers coming up. The Empire only has 50 seconds, and now they finally detach some of the State Troopers, but they needed to have done that a long time ago. They might have been able to flip the objective by now, but I think it's going to be too little too late. Dog Person just has an unholy amount of just unwashed bodies that are going to be jumping up onto this objective, making the Skaven jealous with all these peasant mobs and just cheap capture units that are probably going to be able to get it. So we can do a little bit of fast forwarding here. I don't think the Empire is going to be able to get it, and that was a really good game. It just goes to show that, these are both players who are in the top 16 on the leaderboard, right? Even if you're behind by 3,000 or 4,000 value at various points in the game, you can play the objectives and you can still win on that. You don't need to give up. So, see what you can do. Scrap to the bitter end if you think you have a chance. Obviously, there are circumstances where you're completely crushed, but that wasn't one of them. So, GG. Super fun builds. You got to see 3,000 value, 1,800. Look at that. Royal Hippo Knights doing good. Fey Enchantress doing quite solid. And the Empire with 2,800 on Franz. Demogryphs with 25. Royal Outdoor Gryphites probably quite good as well at 24. It was just a great game all around. Really, really fun stuff. I think the game was winnable for both sides. I think the Empire certainly had an advantage, but they didn't quite capitalize on it. And the Bretonnians were able to take advantage of several misplays and get those objectives back. So GG, well played to both these players. It was really fun. Thank you guys for sending in the replay, and we'll see you all on the other side.